So you'll hear me talk a lot about just getting started with podcasting and how it works and how you should absolutely start that process of learning immediately, and that's true. But there are also I say but there are phases along the way that you're going to go through in the podcasting sort of journey as a host, as a podcaster, where you're going to learn in different ways at different times how to become more effective. And it'll have almost a back and forth kind of quality. The learning you're going to go through, it will feel on some days like I need to be more organic and just be me. And then on other days, you'll think, oh, I need to be more methodical and intentional and strategic about what I'm doing. And it's important to recognize that approach is not either or. It is a both and. And when you get to a point where you are able to internalize the strategic elements of creating a podcast and internalize the tactical approaches you're going to take in creating great content, what'll happen is it'll seem like a flow state. It will seem like you are not putting any thought into it at all. But that process is almost the exact same as learning how to drive. So when you first learn how to drive, very likely in the beginning, you probably are terrified and you are looking, maybe 5 feet in front of the car and driving in a very, very sort of close high attention, high vigilance, very super sensitive to data. And then as you get more comfortable, that sensitivity starts to wane. And then very likely, if you're like most people, you'll have a whoops, an accident of some kind. You'll get veer too close to the curb. You will hit something or not stop in time or, go too fast and your drink will spill over you or something like that. And then that will bring you back to that vigilance and you'll go, oh man, I should really pay attention. As you go through the process of learning how to drive, though, eventually you get to this what they call unconscious competence, where you don't even think about it. You're good at it. You're good enough at it. But the process will always drive you back to that vigilance whenever unexpected data happens, an unexpected event. The same thing is true in podcasting. You're going to go through those phases where you become hyper vigilant about the content you're creating, where you are paying attention to every detail and trying to make it absolutely perfect. And sometimes that fidgeting is productive, and sometimes it's just you were confronted with data that doesn't really match what you expect. The important part as you continue through this process, though, is you're going to evolve through those phases of hypervigilance and into a place where you eventually will get to a flow state. You'll get to your what it's like to be a podcaster, how you express yourself through the podcasting experience. You'll move through that to that creator space where for most other people it seems effortless. That's going to take time. It may take 10 episodes for you. It may take 100 episodes. It may be a week. It may be 2 years. You may never be done, and that's okay too. The important thing to understand is not to get wrapped up in that hypervigilance and become hypercritical. That criticality is useful for refining your craft, but not useful for the delivery part of that process. It's not super informative while you're creating a podcast, because the last thing you want to do is go through that vigilance process and you go, oh man, I need to say less, and then you go into an episode and what's going to happen? You're going to say either all the time, or you're going to be so tight-lipped that it feels chunky and it's not going to flow. So it's important to learn and let go almost as quickly as you can. Pick it up, figure out what the lesson is, and then let it go so you can move on to the next sort of phase or iteration of that process. The cool thing about this is it's really just a number of exposures for most people. Just keep trying it and it works out, which is why I can with confidence give you advice like you should start a podcast or you should start immediately, without concern necessarily for the longer term goals right out of the gate, because the education process in and of itself is a valid goal and objective, and you're only going to get that by beginning. So don't give up as a creator. Don't get mired too deeply into some of the weeds, and you'll find when you go through those processes, when you go through that cycle, you'll be able to learn and grow as a creator, and that will have huge positive impact on your output and on your the traction your videos and podcasts can gain over time.